I was the oldest living person to come off the ventilator and not die. Like people were dying after they came off the ventilator.
God.
I woke up with a blood clot in my left lung, paralysis on my left side, and pneumonia. And I got to be okay by the grace of God. And this is without insurance. And the hospital that I was at, people were saying, girl, they killing people. I'm thinking, no, they're not killing people because they would have killed me because I couldn't pay them. But I had no insurance or anything. And I was deadly sick and didn't know I was going to die. I drove myself to the emergency room. And the young guy, I remember him saying, we've been waiting for you. Follow me. And I remember walking to a room. Somehow I got on a different floor. I remember my sister coming in to nag me and get back out. But then that's the last memory I have until I woke up 15 days later.
My God.
I am in better shape today than I was before I went under. Like you need it for your soul. You need it because you need the release. You need to be able to tell it because it stays locked up in you. Writing my book, my autobiography, where I told the good, the bad, the ugly, writing that was indeed a purge for me. My
Yeah.
life changed immensely from where it was at that time. And had I not allowed myself to be vulnerable and say things that even my family didn't know, like they were like, hey, have y'all read this? Did y'all know this was in here? My son was embarrassed by it because I had my son when I was 14. And he was like, well, Mom, that was so embarrassing. But then he said, I learned that was the culture we were in. And so it wasn't abnormal. It just felt abnormal. And I felt ashamed because of how it happened. But you can't tell your story without telling about me because I am your story.
That's where I'm at right now. I'm in that place of where I just had this self-talk of what happened is my story. I have to own it. I deserve to be able to express it and be vulnerable and share what my experience was. If other people see it differently, well, then they need to write their story.
You know?
Yeah.
Because the thing about it is this, like I had one person say, girl, I can't wait to get that book and find out about your dirt. And I'm like, and do what?
Like what?
Girl, you knocking on a door where I don't live. I'm not there anymore. So knock on.
Yeah, knock on. Would you share more with me and the audience about your journey to getting your publication into the Congressional Library? That's such a
Absolutely. So
phenomenal feat. The things you experienced, the highs, the lows, if you would just share
it's
more.
yeah. So here's the thing about my life. First of all, let me preface with this. I am not normal. I live by favor. And so I've done a TED talk. I can't tell you the process you go to get to do a TED talk. I have a book in the Library of Congress. Because here's the thing. The God I serve knows the shortcut. And so he puts on people's hearts. Let her do this. Open that door for her. There are processes to these things. My suggestion to you is to see what the process is. But God is my witness. I get the shortcut. I don't go through the process. So I can't. People say, you can, that's a whole training teaching people how. I didn't go that way. I didn't go the normal way because I'm not a normal person. And so favor shows up because God puts my story on the hearts of man and they open the doors and they let me in. I can teach you how to get favor. Let's give me your life. That's devoting. Like the girls in my circle posted to get at this level, I had to lose some stuff. Like
Yeah.
it comes with a tax and
Yes.
not an easy tax.
Mm-mm.
Like it comes with a tax on your life. Being at this level, you have to be a different person every day, all day. That's scary and lonely because people think when I tell people, well, I see things that you don't see, and there are downloads that I get that you don't hear. And I operate like, even though I teach people how to write business plans, it is hard for me to sit down and write mine because my plan is to do what God has for me, whatever that looks like. And today it may be look like I'm in Atlanta. Tomorrow it could look like I'm in Nashville. Next week it could look like I'm in Jackson, Mississippi. Like I go wherever he tells me to go. So it's very different. So how did I get in there? That process is a whole short. That right there is not standard. It's not
Yes.
standard. But I do know that you can go on their website and they have a place that you can apply and complete the information and you can call them and they'll tell you how to get a book. They actually accept a certain number of books every year. And so my book was approved on the 31st of December in 2013, the year I wrote it. But again, not your average process. But I
It,
did call and asked them, how do I get in there? And I do know that there are exactly 15 blocks from the White House to the Library of Congress because I walked them. So that part actually happened. But like I had to, you still have to do the work. And so
Yeah.
I had to, and I learned on that. I was told, inspired to give my book to the Obamas, but you can't just walk up with a gift and give it to them. You have to actually mail it to them. So I did mail it to the Obamas, and then I was staying at the W Hotel, and I walked my book from the W Hotel to the Library of Congress, which is 15 blocks away. And so just do it. Obedience, that's a whole word. And so it's better than sacrifice. So while we're thinking, well, what all do I have to give? What all am I going to lose? Everything,
Yeah.
quite possibly. But guess this. So did Job lost everything, and he was restored twice as much by being
Wow.
obedient. And, when you're working in the will of God, you're not normal. Every day has its own measure of whatever, but you have to be okay with being the only person doing what you do. You have to be okay with knowing that you're selected, not just chosen, but also selected.
Yeah.
Because out of that selection, he could have chose anybody for this job. He could have chose anyone.
Yeah.
But at 62 years old, I was the oldest living person to come off the ventilator and not die. Like people were dying after they came off the ventilator.
God.
I woke up with a blood clot in my left lung, paralysis on my left side, and pneumonia. And I got to be okay by the grace of God. And this is without insurance. And the hospital that I was at, people were saying, girl, they killing people. I'm thinking, no, they're not killing people because they would have killed me because I couldn't pay them. But I had no insurance or anything. And I was deadly sick and didn't know I was going to die. I drove myself to the emergency room. And the young guy, I remember him saying, we've been waiting for you. Follow me. And I remember walking to a room. Somehow I got on a different floor. I remember my sister coming in to nag me and get back out. But then that's the last memory I have until I woke up 15 days later.
My God.
I am in better shape today than I was before I went under.
My
Like I'm
goodness.
in much better shape today. I still have those comorbidities that made me vulnerable. I still
Yeah.
have them. And here's the thing, in looking at my grandmother's, so my grandmother died in 1953 of pneumonia. One of her diagnoses was acidosis from diabetes. She was in a diabetic coma. But then in addition to that, she had pneumonia as a secondary illness to her death. My mother, 33 years old, Christmas Day, died of Hong Kong flu and pneumonia
My
at the age
goodness.
of 33. COVID, because of COVID, my last diagnosis would have been respiratory failure and pneumonia. I broke a cycle.
Yes, like a real spiritual change.
I'm like, yeah, my secondary diagnosis was pneumonia. So when I tell you everything that I do now, you talk about self-care to success.
I had to grab a tissue. This is like, just give me 1 second. I'm just.
Go right ahead. It's just knowing, like, we don't know our history. We don't know enough about the people. And there are numbers that show that 90 something percent, like 95, 97% of us know nothing about our great grandparents, not even their names.
Yeah.
And I know about my great grandparents. I've made it my life to do genealogy to find out about me. I've actually put my feet on the dirt in Cameroon of Africa because my mother's DNA showed up there for the first time. So I followed that all the way back. Like Dr. Gina Page is amazing. If you ever get the opportunity to find her, follow her. Her and her partner created African Ancestry. It is the biggest repository of African American DNA in the world. And in fact, they were first, but because they were Black, a Black guy, Black girl that started the company, they didn't get the kind of funding that some of the other organizations get. But they have a way for you to find the DNA on both sides of your family, all the way back to the first origin.
I interviewed a lady that's doing something similar to Gina Page. I just found her on LinkedIn. I added her.
Amazing lady. Like we've met personally. So she knows my name. We've met personally, but I'm in this group called Traffic Sales and Profit. Shout out to them. And she is too. And that's how I met her, is through Traffic Sales and Profit. She's one of the founders of that organization, one of the founding members of that organization. And so, learning about your mother's maternal DNA and how they can go into the mitochondrial
Yeah,
part of that and find out your maternal existence from beginning is amazing. But I did it. You can also do it on your dad's side. So I had my nephew to do it on my father's side. So I actually have that my father came from Burkina Faso and my mother came from Cameroon. And I've actually put my feet on the ground in Douala in Cameroon. I
yeah.
love that because when you find out who you are, like I know that my mother's people were the Takar people, and they ruled for 30 years. They were
Oh,
non-warriors people. That's how they lost it. That's why they ended in America, is because they were, even today, they're considered to be mass creators,
they're
mass
peaceful people.
makers. But they're peaceful people.
That's so amazing. When you know who you are, nobody can convince you that you're something else.
Why is it controversial for Black people to find out where they came from? Like I've had conversations when I brought Dr. Page to Chattanooga. I was told by several people who supported and understood what I was trying to do, but they said, "Well, Linda, you know that is controversial, and if I support you out loud, it could risk my family, my job." Like I
Mm.
had sponsors who wanted to help me say that to me. They don't want us to know who we are. I don't know why, but I
Because it's
know that learning who we are gives us back some of our dignity and
yeah,
helps us to really understand that we came from rulers. And it's not just we're queens and kings in theory, we are kings and queens through the bloodline.
I was saying if we really knew what was running through our bloods, we would operate differently as a people.
Absolutely.
We would have more respect for each other as a people.
Absolutely. And I love that Dr. Page has created a community of cousins and also has a sub community where people from the different parts of the world can say, "Hey, cousin, we come from the same group of people."
That is phenomenal.
And it's not tribal, it's actually groups of people. That tribal thing is an American thing. We're not
Yeah,
tribes, we're people.
it's a downplay because when you think tribe, you don't think kingdom.
Right. And you think that they are not developed.
Yeah, I was thinking underdeveloped. You don't think advanced, you don't think
No,
scholar, you don't think
no.
science, you don't
Right.
think math, you don't innovation, you don't think technology.
Absolutely. And it shows in how the thing that gets the most money, the most support are doing hair, doing nails, and frying chicken.
Yeah.
Like we can do more than that. We
Yeah,
are
we
more
can.
than that. When you learn every time somebody comes across my timeline and they've created a different thing in science, or they've done a different technology, or they've built construction on a different place, or they've done something that is just amazing. Every single time I am like excited because I know, and mind you, this is not a dig for the people who are good at doing hair and nails and chicken, because that's needed too, right? This is not a
Yeah.
dig for that. This is to say that it doesn't stop there. Like we have people in technology, engineering, and creating all types of things. I met Dr. Johnson, who was the super soaker guy. That was the first rocket scientist I met. He created a little piece that goes up on the spaceships today. Like he is
Wow.
really a NASA rocket scientist. But his whole mind, how he thinks and things, and to have met him personally, like to be in this group TSP, he was one of the speakers. So I got to meet him. And right before COVID, I was going to he has a lab somewhere near Atlanta, and I was going to take a group of kids to meet him. Because can you imagine what that means to meet a rocket scientist? He actually was still at that time still working for NASA, still
Wow.
trying to develop some piece that made the booster go up well. Like still doing this thing. But to actually, people say, "Well, that's not rocket science." Well, I actually know one. And then met another one that's a rocket scientist. So now I have like three rocket scientists in my circle of influence. People who know me and I know them.
When we speak about your really high level and diverse circle of influence, when you were sharing with us that you work with the likes of Steve Harvey and some other big names, not just in entertainment, but they're also avid business advocates and investors and coaches. What was that process like, being able to learn from someone like Steve Harvey and adopt some of his business principles and like to be close to someone who has that way of thinking and to be able to take from it and apply it? in your own life.
Absolutely. So Steve being in his circle, right? Then I met Lisa Nichols. I
Yes,
met
I love
Policy
Lisa Nichols.
Bronson.
Oh my
Like
God.
I met those people and still follow those people today. They haven't turned me off. And then I
Yeah.
let his makeup artist Stephanie. I met her. Like different people in his circle you meet. But one thing he wanted to do was show us how to do business well and give
Yeah.
us the part that he didn't go to business school, but he was giving us the game according to how he had to play it, right? And so at that time, this is 2015, 2016. At that time, he had 8 contracts, multi-million-dollar contracts, doing one thing that he loved to do, tell jokes. And so he taught us how to make different revenue streams. Lisa Nichols has a whole story about how she learned about diverse revenue streams, like to have personal wealth is 3 to 4, to have generational wealth is 7 to 8. Like learning from people who actually opened up their hearts and told us their life stories. That's
Yeah.
what it was like. It was personable. It was the part of business that we don't get to see that close up. Like
Mhm.
it wasn't a lot of industry talk. It was all about this is my story. This is how I got to be who I am. And this is what I went through. Let me feed you so you can come this way too. It was that.
Yeah. The more my circle of influence widens and it greatens, I'm realizing more the people who we think are just the most blessed and most favored, and they have so much in the material world, they are also giving and so super generous in the spiritual realm.
Yeah.
Like these are people who are constantly pouring out and emptying their cup, and they go to source and God to get refilled. Like they
Absolutely.
practice, like generosity is a lifestyle.
All of them said, most times when people walk up to them, they say, give me what you got, and Steve was quick to say, I'll tell anybody how I got here. I'll share with them. I'll tell them the story. I'll help them any way I can, but I'm not going to give what I've worked for and
Yeah.
just give it to me. But that's how they come, right? So how I even got in that whole thing, I had a dream that said Steve Harvey's going to bless you. And at that time, it sounds so convincing. It was asleep. I was half asleep, half awake. And I went and looked, and he was at his show. It just showed his show in Chicago. This was in the wintertime. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't do north in the winter. I'm a southern girl. But
Yes.
it was in the wintertime. And I was like, that's probably just a dream, whatever. Several weeks passed, it happened again. Steve Harvey's going to bless you. And I was like, okay, let me look and see where he is. And I went searching for his name, and it popped up that he was at Family Feud, and
Yes.
Atlanta is an hour and a half from me.
Yeah. I
And I
actually
was
got
like,
to meet him being at Family Feud when they were
yeah,
filming in Atlanta. Yeah.
absolutely. He's still doing it. I think he's wrapping up a season now. And so I grabbed one of my girlfriends, and I went. I'm gonna tell you this again is favor. We're driving down the street. I'm in my convertible. We're gonna have us a good time. We're heading down south, and one of my tires was going flat. A car full of a white truck full of men jumped out, saw us pumping, trying to put air in the tire, jumped out and said, "No, ma'am, you won't be doing that today. We got you." Not only checked that tire, but checked all my tires. I said, "No, you're ready to go. You're safe." We went down there. We got there late, so we were in the back of the line. And the guy Tim, I'll never forget, his name was Tim. He was the producer our show person that
Yeah.
was doing that part of the job, and he said, well, we've already filled, we have all the seats we're going to have for today. So we're going to give you passes so you can come back. And I asked him, could I talk to him? And he was like, well, yeah, just go stand over there with my assistant. So I went and stood beside his assistant. And she said, okay, tell me what the deal is. What happened? She's asking me questions. I said, well, I had a dream. And I told him, the story about the dream or whatever. And she said, oh, he likes having people like you. I said, I've written a book, and God told me to bring my book to give it to Steve. So I'm down here delivering this book to give it to Steve. And she was like, oh, okay. She said, okay. So then Tim comes over. He said, okay, Steve won't take it. Don't give it to him, but let me give it to his security guard because everything comes through his security guard. And I was like, fine and good, as long as he get it. I said,
We're going to get right back to the talk, but I want to offer you a free gift. I know. No, it's actually free. Like you don't have to pay anything. There's no shipping and handling or no processing fee. Literally, all you have to do is click the link, download the Self Care Your Way to Success Chakra Alignment Journal, and start journaling and start your path to wellness. It's going to help you get aligned in mind, body, and spirit, help you organize your entrepreneurial goals, and help you get back centered and fill your cup so you can pour back into the communities that you serve. So click the link, download your free copy of Self-Care to Success Chakra Alignment Journal, and then give me some feedback. Let me know what you want to see in this journal, because this is the cool part about the virtual journal. As I add more to it, you get the updates. So no, you'll never have to buy another journal. You'll never have to download another version of it. You're going to get all of the updates as the new editions come out. And this is like my gift back to humanity. This is my gift back to the almost 600 women who have joined in solidarity to support the success of this podcast. And I want to see you all prioritizing your self-care. So click the link, get your self-care journal, and let's get back to this talk with this wonderful, wonderful woman in business.
There's rows of people. We sat there were 3 seats at the back of the room. We sat in 2 of those 3 seats at the very end. So they told us all these people have to go in before you can get in. And I was like, okay, we're here. I said, but God told me this. And I know I believe what he said. So I told my friend, I said, well, God is going to bless all these people today, because sometimes you get in that room and they still send you home. And I said, God gonna bless all these people today, because today we're gonna watch the taping. That's what we came here for, and we're gonna do it. We got second row seats.
What?
And got to watch 2 of the tapings. We had a ball.
And because they were filming in the old convention center.
Right. Yeah, it was near a campus.
There are hundreds of people out there lined up trying to get to that studio.
Yeah. And so we got in and we actually got to the show. He had a clothing line back then, and I had actually wore one of the dresses from his clothing line. But we got second row seats, and was like I could see him right here in front of me, and so to the side there. But to get where we got excellent seats, we got to enjoy the whole show, watch 2 shows, and then just laugh. My friend said, I wouldn't believe, if you'd have told me this, I wouldn't believe all this happened. No. She said, but I was here, so I know it happened. And she's like, honey, if you ever go to his show, I'm going with you. I told her if I ever get invited on, wherever it is, I'm going to bring her with me.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
But she's the same person that was with me when I walked my book to the Library of Congress.
That's the kind of connection and support. Like, you need real foot soldiers on the ground. When you're in close proximity to people who either want to mimic your energy or want to oppose it, that's when you're in kind of a scary or risky place. Yeah. You have to have the loyalty of the people that are in close proximity to you, because like you said, when they don't understand your mission, they will sabotage it.
Absolutely. And you need to vet the people, right? You need to vet the people. Here's the thing. I am such a giver, and I am such a cut up in craziness and say things and don't really have a filter and all these things. And it's important that I know I can trust the people who are around me, to know when I'm playing, like kidding, and when I'm serious. Because I've had people to take what I said and just trying to cut a joke and took it to heart and caused a ruckus between me and another person. Something I said, like not even thinking, not even, and what I did to that girl, I apologize, because what I said was out of order. But I also went to the person and said, why didn't you just check me? If you're her friend and I'm her friend, why did you not just check me? Why did you say, just take it and run with it?
Yeah. You know what I learned? Those people are showing you what they've already decided that they believe about you.
Absolutely.
Even in those times, I believe that's even divine intervention so that we can be aligned with who's for us. You may not have wanted a situation to come to head like that, but it also goes ahead and brings something to the forefront that may have came out later in a different way, I think.
It helped me to check the temperature of the people around me.
I had a little situation like that last night. I was sitting at a table and everybody was ordering food, and this person I was talking to said all of this basically in the same conversation. They mentioned that they had an opportunity available. And so without hesitation, I was like, I would like the opportunity. And so then they said to me, well, you already got a bunch of jobs and a bunch of stuff you do. I said, well, I need more. My goal is to have, like, I'm on the generational wealth. I need 7 or 8 streams coming in. You don't know what I'm trying to secure, you know. And in that same breath, they fixed their mouth and said, well, Ken, if you know somebody who can help me with this and help me with that and help me with this, can you go ahead and connect me and plug me in? I said, it's the audacity for me.
I can get you, I can be your help, but I can't get what you got.
And I didn't take it personally. I said, I don't even think this person really realizes the depth of what they just said to me.
That person was still showing up after she had told that young lady what I said. She was still showing up like nothing was wrong. Like nothing wrong. Today, she's still on my Facebook friend list. Because I let people disqualify themselves.
Yeah.
I'm here to show you light. I let you disqualify yourself, but to this day, she still follows me. After she did that, she never once came back and said, hey, I shouldn't have done that. I should have talked to you.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you know, I don't want to be around people that can't check me. I want you to check me. Don't let me run out through this world all ragged and crazy because I make mistakes. That right there was a mistake. I need people who can check, who are confident in themselves enough to check me. Linda, you're wrong for that.
That's what it is. It's it's to be able to step boldly, believe that they have that level of authenticity in the connection with you to have a real conversation with you.
Absolutely.
I also believe that there's a high level of desire for them to see you win because they don't want you. They're like, they'll say, I know that you have this level of greatness in you, and I would like to know why you are not operating at it. And we need to have a conversation about
that right there. The difference. Last week, so I have a laptop that I'm extremely fond of. The 2 key and the W key does not work on them. So anytime I'm ready to type a 2 and a W, or the 2 and the at sign on the 2 key and the W, I have to go find one and then copy and paste it because I can use the keyboard for the others. My friend in Atlanta, and I'm gonna call her my friend because she said, Linda, you are too fabulous to be working at a disadvantage. You need to go buy you a new laptop so you can show up fully. If you're having to hunt for keys, you're losing time. She said, you're too fabulous. You're down here you're too brilliant for that kind of thing. Get you another laptop. Get you something that works totally. I received it.
Yeah. It's the iron sharpens iron concept.
Yeah. Tell me when I'm wrong. She's like, you're right here bringing up people all around the world and you're out here hunting for a 2 and a W. She's like, no, girl, that's not acceptable.
Yeah, they want to see you show up in the fullness of your greatness. When I worked in institutional education, one of my teachers who was training me before I got licensed to be a master educator, she called it, if the wind blows, they're the person to pull my skirt down.
Absolutely. She's going to set your crown on your head and let you go on. Wait, sister, your crown is crooked. Let me straighten you up.
If you could tell us how we can stay connected with you, online, what social media platforms.
So my website is getthebusiness.org, and that's GETTHEBUSINESS.org. And you can also follow me on social media at Linda Murray Bullard. I use all 3 names. Or my business name is LSMB Business Solutions. That's LSMB Business Solutions. So in any of those places, I'm on all platforms. I'm on all the popular ones at some level, but I hang out mostly on Facebook and LinkedIn. And feel free to follow me, and I follow back.
Awesome. I wanted to know as well, you are so rich in spirit and spirituality, and I see how you make sure you stay connected with spirit and you stay full of spirit because you pour so much out of yourself and into those that you have to be a mirror for. What are some of your other ways to self-care? Like whether it be a routine or it's a spiritual practice or a physical practice, but how do you just stay full after you pouring into so many people, like in your personal time and fueling yourself and keeping your mind, body, and spirit aligned so that you can continue to show up in your fullness?
So I have people that I follow too, but I also have this ring. It's an aura ring, and it keeps check on, because going through that illness, I have lung damage, heart damage, and pancreas damage, right? And so this keeps check on pneumatically. So I make sure that I get enough rest. I make sure that I pour into my state of mind, that I spend time talking to my higher power, my God. I spend time with him. I spend time in my Bible. I spend time with people who are on the same level as me as far as spiritually. We're trying to do this journey together. I have people on my team that check me. Like, I ask them, does this sound good? Is this wrong? Am I feeling some kind of way? Having people who balance you out and having people who can get honest with you without offending you, just being around circle. I read a lot. My audible, I have ADHD sensitive illness. I can't concentrate to read a lot, but I can listen. And so I use audible books to get knowledge and glean knowledge from different people. I just stay open. But I think that you have to make sure you get sleep. Like, sleep is where we restore, reconnect, rejuvenate. And there was, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Like, that was a thing for a while there. No, I'm sleeping today and probably twice. I take naps.
Yeah.
I take naps. People are surprised to find that I'm 65 and my son is 51, but I take naps. I am the queen of the naps. But know when you have gone too far and know when it's time to reset and just be the person that takes care of you better than anybody should have to take care of you.
I believe she was in my cohort at Circle 19. Elizabeth McCoy, she's literally created a business around being a rest and sleep advocate.
Okay.
And she got me all the way together during the interview. She said,
it's important.
She's like, your quality of life. She said, you have a good quality of life when you can take a nap every day.
Absolutely.
I said, all right, yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. That's one thing that keeps me in entrepreneurship, because there are some days at 2 o'clock, I'm done. And I have to go and take a 2-hour nap and reset. And then I teach a GD class from 5 to 7:30. And so that gets me ready for them. They're getting a fresh face in the wee hours of the day. But I have to rejuvenate sometimes because I run out of energy. I have to make sure that when I'm pouring into other people, that I'm not pouring from an empty cup.
As we bring it to a closing, if you would leave us with some lifestyle pillars to keep close and to glean from and nuggets of wisdom, but you shared. So this interview is so wisdom rich, something just special and specific. And you shared so many just really mystical and magical moments that stood out. I'm trying to think, is there anything else I can add?
Well, the acronym that comes to me is STOP. And STOP is show up for yourself, take time to rest, open your mind to new opportunities, and position yourself in the best possible space for you.